All right, so this is going to sound crazy, but stick with me. When I was trying to make sense of, learning jazz chord voicings so I could, increase my chord vocabulary, one of the guys that helped get me there was Jimmy Page. And I still, to this day, say that Jimmy Page is more of a jazz player than anybody will give him credit for. A guy's chord knowledge and phrasing. He's a jazz blues guy, in a lot of ways. I mean, obviously, he covered so much ground and married so many genres, but um, rock and roll on the fourth Zeppelin album is what actually helped me understand jazz chord voicings. There's a now I'm going to do an amalgamation of his two parts because he always overdubbed, right? And so now you have the main rhythm where he's playing. It's in A. It's just 1 4 5. Okay. Now there's an overdubbed rhythm call and response thing going on. So after he plays he's got these little cool tritone things going on. And so, after the one, to the four, back to the one. Like, what in the heck is this, right? Well, this is what got me. It was he was like one of the main guys that helped ease me into making as much sense as I can out of jazz. And so look at these tritones, right? And so you're in A, right? Where you got, so A is what? A, C sharp, and now being blues, A, third C sharp, fifth is E, the flat seven is G, because, most of your blues is going to be dominant sevens, most. So what are these? Look at these tritones. The third, the C sharp, here's your root. Third is C sharp. The flat seven is G, right? So if you do it like a 3-note chord here, you get that cool little upside down triangle. And if you only play the third and the seventh, you get this cool tritone, the devil's interval there. And then the neat thing is, when you drop the whole thing in parallel, a half step, what was the third and seventh of A is actually, drop that half step, is the seventh and third of the D. Right? There's your D7. So here's A7. So you hear these, right? So once I started trying to figure out, I got the I think it was the Ronnie Lee jazz course, Melbay, I think is where I started learning some of my voicings from. But as I had talked about in the first video about Blue Train and understanding chords and comping, these 3-note voicings were so let's go backtrack here now. Let's go back to A for a root, right? If we do root, flat seven, and third, and then, if we take out that root, there's that tritone again, right? So these are movable. And so the neat thing is this shape of that tritone, when you go from, with A in the bass, with your flat seven third, now you go up here to the fifth and play the fifth of the A, which is E, the C sharp, and G, you get the same shape. Those are kind of interchangeable, at least with the tritones anyway. fingering's different when the fifth is in the bass. But so that tritone permeates through that, and you can leave out your root and you just play them thirds and fifths, and they pretty much tell you what chord you're playing, because that relationship is so strong. So anyway, back to Blue Train. So see where I'm going with this. Okay, so Blue Train, right? Now, let's start with the one, right? We're at E flat, and it's, for the most part, like we said before, it's a 1-4-5 for the most part blues, 12-bar blues. So E flat, 7th is D flat, 3rd is G. Let's go to A flat, right? And if we do this inversion with the 5th in the bass, the 3rd, and a flat 7, you know? It's rock and roll, man, from Zeppelin. So let's play the first couple bars of Blue Train using these types of voicings. Okay, so now I want a little movement there. Whenever I have to play a chord more than a measure, you know, when there's a chord going for 2 bars, I like to move it to an inversion, create a little bit of movement. Like I said, and this, once again, this is what I call, what most people call the Freddie Green style. He was known for keeping rhythm just by some staccato jabs on the downbeats. So anyway, so that's your 1 with the root and the bass. Here's your 4 chord with the 5th in the bass. Now back to the 1. Now for the second measure of the 1, I play this inversion. So that's got the flat 7 in the bass. There's the 5th, there's the root. So I don't have the 3rd in this one. You can add the 3rd because this one's fairly easy. If you just come up to that B string, right? So you got, but for now, let's just stick with these 3-note voicings, because sometimes if a song's moving fast, it's hard to get some of those 4-note voicings, four-note voicings, and they're, as nice as they are, they're not always necessary. So anyway, so the second measure, that E flat, I play that inversion, and then now you can play any inversion, and we'll get to that. I'm gonna show you how, you know, you can get them. And this is, you know, and there's so many ways to play these, but if you learn basically 4 shapes of each chord, you're going to cover your octave, and that is going to come in so handy when it comes time for soloing. But let's go back now. So now look, now of course we're in E flat, so I don't have an E flat, so our root's up here. Now if we go up to the 3rd, so that's, you know, E flat, the flat 7 is D flat, G. Now we go up to the 3rd is G, right? Now let's do G, E flat, and B flat. You have this shape. Now drop it an octave if you want to go down here. Right? And see, if you notice these, there'll be a note on the 6th string and then 2 notes on the 2 middle strings, on the D and G strings. Now a lot of times what I like to do is I will do a pick and 2 fingers. But you can just strum it if you want. And basically, to keep that A from ringing, once I fret my note here, I just let my, whatever finger is playing that 6th string, I let it like sit at an angle, and it mutes that A string so it don't ring out. Okay, so that's the first inversion of an E flat 7. Let's go up to, we have the E flat, G, the 5th, B flat. Let's drop it an octave here. There's that shape again, right? With that tritone again. And that's, you know, your fifth is B flat, your third is G, there's your flat 7, D flat. So you got root, third, fifth, flat 7. Let's drop that down. That's when I play a little bit of, we'll go D flat, B flat, E flat. So root, you know, with the root in the bass, third in the bass, fifth in the bass, flat 7 in the bass. So like we were talking about before, you're listening to your soloist that you're backing up, you know, can help you, and whatever your bass player may be playing will help steer you in what you want to, which one of those inversions you want to use. But, you know, so that's all E flat right there. 4 great usable positions. You can fall down here. Okay. Now, the neat thing is, now that order works for every other chord. It's going to be the same exact order. So root, up major third for that inversion, up a minor third to get to your fifth for that inversion, up another minor third for that inversion. And notice how we have those 2 minor thirds. That's why we have those repeating tritones, you know, because we'll get into this later, because there's this really cool thing about diminished substitution, and that's what these are. These are, you know, diminished fifths. Oops, sorry. But anyway, those, you know, those symmetrical patterns, since you have 2 minor thirds, you know, that's what causes those really cool repeating symmetrical patterns. So, okay, so now let's go to the 4 chord, right? A7, the A flat 7 rather, I'm sorry. Root, flat 7, major third. You know, and it's the same shape from up here, but in the A flat root position. Now look, we go up a major third, right? So there's your C, A flat, E flat. Now you can do, like I said, 4 note, but let's worry about 3 note voicings right now. So same thing, you know. Let's go up to the 5th. From the C to E flat. And then minor third up again to the G flat. See, it's the same intervals, it's the same shapes, just starting on the A flat from the E flat. So, you know, E flat, first inversion, second inversion. Oops, that third inversion's hard, so I'll just do it in lower octave. Now A flat, same thing. Same interval, same patterns. All right, so you have your 1 measure E flat, your 1 measure A flat. You have 2 measures E flat, 2 measure A flat. Then there's 1 measure E flat. Now that cool twist with the C7, right? Now C7 in root positions here, and it's, once again, it's the same up major third, root in the bass, third in the bass, fifth in the bass, flat 7 in the bass. It's the same pattern because they're 7 chords, the dominant 7 chords. But look how now put them in context. Remember I was telling you before, try to do these instead of going from the root position down the root position, which still sounds great, don't not do it. But at the same time, watch what happens when you have cool progressions like this and you try not to move as much. So we have your E flat, say we do E flat in root position here. Now where's the nearest way to play a C7? Well, third in the bass. Right there, right? Third, root, fifth. Now look how cool this is. Going from one to the next. You get that chromatic movement there. You get that chromatic movement there. And that common tone, it stays there. It's really cool stuff. Let's invert that E flat and watch this. With the flat 7 of the E flat in the bass. Now to look what's right here. There's your C7 in root position. Isn't that cool? Let's do E flat with a fifth in the bass down here. Right? Look at that. In this case, only one note changes. Here's your, you know, that's your E flat with the fifth in the bass. Here's your C with the flat 7 in the bass. Let's go down to this one. Now here's your E flat with the third in the bass. Here's your C7, your C with the fifth in the bass. Just that one note moves up. You know, it's really cool stuff when you see them. A lot of times you don't need to jump all over the place to do it once you get these inversions under your belt. Okay, so after that C7, let's see, okay, F minor, our minor chord in the progression. Now, minor in root position, we got the F. So that's F, our flat 7 is E flat, and A flat is our third, right? Or then we go A flat for a third in the bass, F root, C our fifth, right? And then let's put the fifth in the bass. So that's the fifth, the minor third, flat 7. Then the flat 7 in the bass, the third, and the root. So that's E flat, C, F. So that, you go. Okay. And then, let's see what's next. Then it's a B flat 7. And once again, it's the same as those other 7 chords. Okay. And then it's next to last measure is we're back to our E flat again. And then the last measure does a quick 2 beats of the F minor 7 to the 2 beats of the B flat 7. Now from root position, you know that back to the 1. But once again, remember, let's not move so much. Let's see what happens when they're right next to each other. You know, so there's that. And that's called a 2-5-1 because see, E flat is 1, F minor is the 2, B flat is the 5. It's real common jazz turnaround. So anyway, F minor 7 root position, B flat 7 with the fifth in the bass, back to the 1, E flat 7. Now let's do E flat. Let's do the F minor with the flat 7 in the bass, B flat 7 with the third in the bass, to E E flat 7 with the flat 7 in the bass. That one doesn't resolve as well, that voicing, but I use it anyway. I like it. You know, so you get the, you know, you can still hear that though, them pull it, and you don't have to move. You don't have to go all over the place. Let's do the F minor 7 with the 5th in the bass. Your E flat 7 with the root in the bass. With your 1 chord, the E flat 7 with the 5th in the bass. And so you get, and look how neat these are when you just, if you only play a couple notes. Hearing those cool movements, it's beautiful stuff. Let's do F minor 7 with the minor 3rd in the bass, right? E flat 7 with the flat 7 in the bass. And then E flat 7 with the 3rd in the bass. You hear all that great movement, and you don't have to jump. Well, you don't have to bounce around. You can. There's nothing wrong with doing that, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And you get this great voice leading stuff that happens in the process. So like the whole progression, I'm going to kind of just think around. Now I'm going to drop my pick here and just kind of do my thumb and 2 fingers just so we get a little more clarity. I'm just going to do Freddie Green kind of 1, 4, 1, 1 inverted, 4, back to 1, the C7, F minor 7, B flat 7, E flat 7. Whoops. Sorry, but you hear that movement. There's some great moves going on there, and that's just using one simple concept of 3-note voicings with, you know, a 1 note on the 6th string and 2 notes on the 2 middle strings. Get a lot of mileage out of these, and it's good. They're just going to help you with your solos when it comes time to it. And the next segment, I'll cover some other voicings on the higher strings, which will help lead us into more soloing. But at the same time, taking consideration, this is going to help your riffing down here because, you know, now, like I said, since I'm a rock and blues guy and I don't hold anything sacred, so when I'm dipping into jazz, I'm going to use, you know, my rock upbringing to influence that. So, you know, I like the Freddie Green stuff and the little jabs. You know, we can, but at the same time, we can riff, you know. You know, you can separate those notes, you know, and create like your own little, you know, bass line, as long as once again, we always got to consider what's happening in that situation with the band. So you can make these little riffs like that. Just be aware of what your bass player's doing so you don't step on their toes. So, you know, if they're walking or riding or if they're syncopating, you can find something that they're not doing. So when I put little accents in, I want to I have to make sure I'm not getting in the way of my soloist or my singer, and I don't want to get away with a keyboardist, or you don't want to get in the way of everybody else. You find your sonic real estate, you know. So if you can get away with some little cool riffs like that, that's great, you know. You know, those are fun little things you can do, and that's going to make playing rhythm and comping behind a band just as fun as soloing. You're going to, hopefully, it will be to you. I know that I developed a new appreciation for that. And now this is just super basic stuff as you're trying to incorporate some jazz into your rock playing, or if you eventually want to get into jazz and full-fledged. But just if you're evolving from rock and blues and you want to get that, I don't want to call it sophistication, but you just want to open your vocabulary. It's expanding your vocabulary, because it's one thing to say, man, she's hot, he's hot, but it's another to, man, she's exquisite. There's something about the vocabulary, and applying that to your playing can be a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoy. I hope I gave you some ideas, and as I've played with the computer some more, I'm going to try to figure out how to get some diagrams on screen for you guys. But hopefully just talking about it and playing some of these examples and you seeing some of this will help you expand as I am slowly over the years. Anyway, enjoy, and we'll talk again.